My question is about climate change. The topic feels so big and complicated. The extreme storms and power outages in the United States happening now also makes it feel very real. How to deal with the reality of climate change, but also remember that my thoughts about it are not reality. It feels very difficult for me with this topic. Thank you. Yeah. So in the end, we are all going to die. And it might be that humans aid themselves to wipe themselves out. Like they have a big part in that. I mean, it's just crazy, the amount of recycling I personally go through. And I try my best to pick products with little recycling and go to local stores so it's not in plastic and stuff. But it builds up, eh? I mean, it's crazy that we're living in a society where we don't take our own Tupperwares to the store, that we get things in packaging. And we can change really radically because we're discovering that from I'm going to get my video banned from the problem with having in society at the moment. We can change really rapidly. So we can suddenly all go into lockdown, and everyone can do it. So we could have this really sharp change in climate change. But to be honest, I think with 8 billion humans, unless we invent new technologies, I don't know if it is sustainable for 8 billion humans. Like, that's a lot of humans. It's so funny, people are always telling me I'm not pro-vaccine. And people are always, please don't let that influence you. I would never feel like I could influence you on that subject. It's so personal. But I feel like if you're healthy enough, then you should try your best not to take these medications and get your body to digest the illness. Like when I went to India, the first couple of times I was so ill, and then I learned, I've been to India about 17 times, I learned that I had to adjust to my environment slowly. So when I first arrived in India, I would like sip the water, like take tiny little sips, and then each day I'll get a bit more and a bit more until I was swirling it around in my mouth, and etc. And slowly branching out into different foods. And I feel like that's the same with illnesses we have in a society. We need to build up our own immunity to it, and making ourselves really clean, and our government giving the immunity through some injection isn't the wise way to go. I understand that it's the way society's going, and for our current pandemic, and that's totally down to society's choice. And if society tells me I have to take a vaccine, then I'm not going to go to prison for not taking one. And more than likely, I'm going to have to take it more than everyone, because my mum lives in a different country from me, and they're going to do like vaccine passports or something. And I'm not going to stop doing that. But personally, I would try, if you feel you can, like try your best to like deal with illnesses without the government giving you stuff to get over the illnesses. That's my perspective on it. And then if you can't, then you can take the government stuff. But if you can, I don't see the point in taking it if you can build up your own immunity. But that's the way society goes. So what was my point to that? Oh man, about global warming. Oh yeah. And so people argue with me, but you don't understand how amazing vaccines have been, because they've wiped out all illnesses. And the ironic thing is they're most probably right. Like we've made ourselves sicker as a nation. I think we have more mental illness, more autoimmune diseases from all the medications that we're taking. Like, I think we've made ourselves sicker. But we've made ourselves live longer, we've made ourselves sicker, so we're not so resilient, and a lot of people are medicated. And then we've also made ourselves like really strong population. But then if you look at it from the other side, which I'm sure you're really not allowed to say from a PC perspective, is we're now at 8 billion people. And I don't think that our planet can handle 8 billion people. So yeah, vaccines, I understand how horrific it must be to get an illness which wipes out like half your community and half your family. That must be horrific. And you're desperate for the government to find a vaccine to stop that. But then what are we heading towards with 8 billion people on the planet? We have to invent technologies that send us up into space, or that makes us like uber sustainable if we're going to have this amount of people. I don't know how we do it. I don't have the answers, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have vaccine and so people should die or anything to bring down the numbers. I'm not saying that. You could argue I'm saying that. I'm not actually. I don't know the answer to it. But we're now at 8 billion people, I think. And then, in order for us to eat, we eat cows and chickens. So then not only are we 8 billion humans, but then we make all this, we create all this other life to eat. Like, so we create all these, like, so if there's 8 billion of us, and some people are eating meat every day. I used to have friends that ate meat 3 times a day. So they're eating that much meat. Then we have to grow crops for those animals. So rather than us just growing the crops and us eating the crops, we grow these crops, we feed these animals, and then we kill these animals and eat these animals. I think it's something like an insane amount of animals that we currently have in the meat industry that we're keeping alive. So it's like, I mean, how can our planet survive on this? Like, not only are we 8 billion, but we're creating all this food and crops for ourselves, then we're creating it for all these animals that we eat. Yeah. And then we're creating a disproportionate amount of animals alive that suit us, that whether it be cows or pigs or chickens. But I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the answer to it. It's a really complex subject. What I do know from this last year is I see that we can really radically adapt very quickly. So we can adapt if we decided that we wanted to do something about it. But because it's not imminent, it's too hard for us somehow to adapt. It's an interesting subject. But in the end, if you're suffering over it, then it's absolutely pointless thinking about it. If you're suffering about something, you're creating negative energy which goes into our society. So we're all like a collective being. Like we kind of like think of ourselves as independent entities, but we're actually like the is it sparrow murmurations? Murmurations. We're like those birds, you know, that move as one. And we are actually like that as society. We're not actually working independently, and we're all like connected to each other energetically. Like through non-verbal means. We think we're only connected verbally, but there's energetic ways in which we're connected. Like if you look from bird's eye point of view down at humanity, we look like ants. We look so organized, like it's happening like magic. It is happening like magic. And so if you're having negative thoughts about it, you're putting that negativity into society. And if you want society to change, society's got to be optimistic and open to possibilities, and then it will change for the better. So it's like, so if we force change through hatred or anger or protest against family or protest against abuse, then that's what you're going to create more of. So in the end, you want to create change through positivity, because then that energetically will be the energy in which you're moving into. And a lot of our change currently as humanity comes through fighting and through suppression, whereas it's a vibration that it's got to change through, like a positive vibration. It's not even like positive words, so it's not even having like a president that's really like left wing and like everyone's included, because they might come from abuse and they might come from suppression, and then they're fighting against that, and that's not right either. It's like an energy of love. It's a very dangerous topic, this, because unless we attach someone up to an MRI, or unless we have people that are really meditated or really gone deep into the subject, then how do we know when someone's coming from love? But if somebody's coming from love, then everything they do is positivity, is really beautiful. I remember watching this organization. It's so dangerous, these concepts. I'm not saying it's not, it is. Because I remember watching this organization, and the leader, did outrageous things, but he said it came from God, it came from love. And I kind of understood that as well, because it's like, that love is so beautiful. I don't know if he did or not, like maybe he came from greed or selfishness. But that love is so beautiful. And everything that comes from that is perfection. Even if that person is doing something out of an old trauma, like their body is acting out an old trauma, if energetically they're coming from love, then it's really healing and beautiful. And it's that trauma working its way out of that body. So it's not even if something comes from a trauma, it's still, from a deeper level, can be coming from love. That's so confusing. I can't possibly put this into the intellect correctly, and it could just sound awful and be interpreted in all types of wrong ways. And society really doesn't understand that, because we don't look at the most important part of us is vibration. Like when you're meeting someone, it's vibration. It's like, what are you vibrating? We concentrate a lot on behavior, which is great to understand behavior and understand human behavior, but the most important part is below that. It's like this vibration of love, which comes from emptiness and the I amness. And this guy ended up going to prison for 9 years, I think, the leader of the cult, because God told him to lay naked with 2 pubescent girls. He didn't have sex with them or anything, he just laid naked with them. See, it gets really complex, this subject. Thanks, Maria, for your question. It sparked off a lot.